Theater etiquette is dead. In fact, it's been dead, succumbing to rigor mortis shortly after that Minions trend went viral 2 years ago. The fragmentation of the big screen into millions of small screens and the ever-shortening duration of the media we consume has reduced not only attention spans, but self-control and restraint in grown adults. Now, young men are hurling popcorn across the theater, throwing confetti over the ground, and in one instance, bringing a live chicken to the venue. As theater employees, police, and families feel the burden of this ghastly behavior, I think it's time to examine how we got here, to a point where collectively enjoying a movie, play, or concert in public is nearly impossible. I'm Robert Tolpe, and it's time to talk about the death of theater etiquette. Watching a movie as a family was a staple of most of our childhoods. I'm sure many of you relate to gathering around the TV and watching a classic film with your parents, sitting quietly and enjoying the story. If you were to talk or act restless, you'd have to face the consequences of annoying your immediate family. If your parents deemed you mature enough, you'd graduate from viewing movies in the living room to going to the theater. The presence of strangers changed how your parents acted, and their gentle shushing and stern talking tos if you acted out of order instilled in many of us a degree of respect towards the viewing experience of others. Most Gen Z adults had this experience growing up, but the invention of the iPad cleaved this generation in half. Most born after the year 2010 AD, or Apple Domini, viewed movies alone in their room or on their tablet or mobile phone, without the judgmental eyes of their parents or perfect strangers on them while they watched. They never developed a need to control their behavior while watching. This by no means applies to everyone in that age bracket, and these two cohorts of Gen Z are not entirely distinct, but I'm sure you're intimately aware of that in some way. 2019 saw the rise of TikTok and ended with growing whispers of a contagious virus rapidly spreading in Wuhan, China. By March of 2020, our lives ground to a halt, and our plans to spend time with our friends and family out in public evaporated. Because watching long-form content in public in a packed theater was out of the question, we instead picked up our phones and began to scroll. TikTok's powerful algorithm fed our brains bite-sized pieces of dopamine as our social lives and school lives became strained. By 2020, COVID escaped our minds, and things seemed normal, but they weren't, and aren't. To this day, we haven't fully reckoned with the impact this had on society, and especially on younger people during their formative years. The impact a global pandemic had on our theater-going experience cannot be understated. Most of our attention spans were on life support, and the general public was starved for a sense of community and joy. In summer of 2022, the Gentleminions trend swept the internet. Hordes of young moviegoers, predominantly men and boys, flocked to theaters to see Minions: The Rise of Gru, dressed in formal attire.
We need tickets for Minions: Rise of Gru. How many? All of them.
It seemed lighthearted enough, even though a handful of screenings were particularly rowdy. When this was viral on TikTok, I smiled at the videos of jocular crowds of kids raving below movie theater screens. Such behavior, though disruptive, wasn't abhorrent and chaotic, but I should have known then, as I do now, that any semblance of decorum left in theaters was on borrowed time. Speaking of things on borrowed time, movie theaters were already considered a relic of a dying era in 2022. The year before, many major institutional investors were already shorting movie chains, such as AMC, seeking to capitalize on their inevitable downfall. Until that changed for many reasons.
It's fine. We can make up the losses with the profits we get from shorting the AMC stock. The price is rising. I said AMC!
Ticket sales have seen a near V-shaped recovery since the pandemic, and studios were quick to notice that there's been somewhat of a renaissance in theater viewership. Their marketing teams and analysts took note of past runaway successes and wisely decided that virality was the key to getting butts in seats. In the wake of the release of profitable and critically acclaimed movies like Barbie, Oppenheimer, and Wicked, marketing teams devised a new and effective strategy to maximize revenue without any regard to the quality of the viewing experience or the films themselves. Two devils materialized atop the shoulders of movie executives: the demon of memeability and the succubus of second screen ability, informing their marketing strategy for the year to come. Movies had to be punchy enough to deliver engaging sound bites for short-form marketing campaigns, in the hopes of planting the seeds of an organically viral phenomenon. Though driving ticket sales is the ultimate goal of such a marketing campaign, the films also had to be optimized for their second life on streaming platforms. Films made for streaming are often left playing on one device, such as a living room TV, while people go about their life, scrolling through Instagram and only occasionally glancing up at the most interesting highlights from the movie. With this rising trend in viewership habits, Netflix executives have allegedly been pushing for more and more of this so-called second screen content. As the theatrical release window for movies continues to shrink, even movies with blockbuster aspirations must contend with this new way of engaging with the films we consume. Initially intended for release in 2019, a Minecraft movie was in production hell for many years. In its nascent stages, the responsibilities of directing, producing, and writing the live-action film based on the iconic game shifted year to year until just when things seemed to be settling into place, the pandemic delayed all hopes of a timely release. The final product of the movie's chaotic production schedule was a film that ponderously stumbled to meet every expectation of what a family-friendly blockbuster should look like, nearly collapsing at every turn under the weight of its $150 million budget. On the eve of its theatrical release, it exhibited all the hallmarks of success. The marketing team had successfully made the movie viral beyond the studio executives' wildest dreams, and its success in the box office showed it. As I speak this sentence, the film is printing money, making $7 million on Thursday alone. Critical reception of the film was mixed, to say the least. The Rotten Tomatoes critic reviews, with only a few exceptions, are filled with professional writers ripping apart a film made for 6-year-olds because it didn't resonate with them or their peers, probably because they're grown adults. Though I believe that holding entertainment for children to high standards is important, I urge critics to maybe let this one slide. Most people writing audience reviews thought positively of the movie, like Peyton, who exclaimed, "It's so cute, my kids adored it." I haven't seen the movie in theaters yet for obvious reasons, but if it's good enough for Peyton, it's good enough for me. Though, as a bystander, the movie itself appears to have emerged unscathed from the thicket of contemporary film production, the cutting-edge marketing strategies have had some unintended consequences. Namely, theaters so disrupted by shouting, live animals, and projectiles that police have to be dispatched so that children and families don't get caught in the crossfire. Thankfully, there have been no serious injuries reported, besides a bruised eardrum here and there, pummeled by shouts of "chicken jockey" or whatever words the rowdy groundlings shout as they hurl their concessions at the actors on screen. Though the immediate stress this puts on theater employees across the country is obvious, the long-term consequences of this kind of behavior is less tangible. To me, it seems the decay of theater etiquette is a signal of a broader decline in young people engaging productively with what little public space they have left to occupy. This is not necessarily because second spaces are a dwindling resource in America. Rather, it's a direct result of all mechanisms of social control that previously maintained order amongst young people failing to work as intended. Since birth, we are taught to be quiet while others are talking, be attentive and observant, and follow instructions from authority figures, especially our parents. Though these methods of instilling deference can be deeply flawed, they seem much better than the most popular alternative to actually raising kids, giving them unrestricted internet access and leaving them to their own devices. Though it's tempting to engage with those participating in this Minecraft movie fiasco as if they are unruly iPad kids, They're not toddlers. They're teens and young adults. They hear what us ancient people in our mid-20s are saying about them, and they don't care. The fact is, these young adults will face no consequences for acting like this. Short of rounding up a bunch of young adults and arresting them for being supremely obnoxious, there's not much that can be done. One can only wait for coming generations to grow up to the point where the elder Gen Zs, poised to become the new intolerant boomer generation, become their employers, or arresting officers, or prosecutors. Anyways, I'm Robert Tolpe, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Bye-bye!